Houston. Say again, please.
Houston, we've had a problem.
Hey there folks, welcome you all to yet another Friday vlog of mine. Another Friday has caught up with us, people. Yes, it has. Before we go any further, flaggins up to you all. I forgot to say that last week. Got about halfway through the video and I hadn't even said it. So flaggins up to you all. I'm doing it first this week so that I don't forget. We do have much to talk about in the world of gaming and we shall crack straight in. Apart from... I actually had a really nice day today. I've had a good week, to be fair. And, you know, I've mostly been playing Days Gone. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And I finished the week off with, I've been getting, you know, good work done at work and, you know, just a pleasant week, really. Outside of, obviously, the coronavirus destroying the planet, but we'll talk about that as well. Not too much, though, you know. There's two words that I really don't ever want to hear again. One was Brexit, which has finally died down, and the second is coronavirus. It's slowly getting up there with Brexit. So, yes, I've had a very nice week, and I finished it off with a little cheeky day off today. Well, I say cheeky, you know, it was a day's leave. It was all above board, people. I didn't just wander off. It was just such a beautiful day. I thought I might as well use a day's leave today and just enjoy the day. And so I was up at, up about 7 o'clock, to be fair. But I went, yeah, so I thought I'm going to go for a run first thing. I generally don't run in the morning. It's usually near a sort of lunchtime or nighttime. But I thought it's just so beautiful. I thought I really want to go and do my 10K like now. So off I went at about, it was probably about 9 o'clock by the time I got to the park. Went for a nice run around there. And got my 10K done. Good time as well, 55 minutes I think it was. And then, well, I say 10K, it's not quite 10K, I think it's about 9.5. The Fitbit changes its mind depending on how fast I've gone. And when I'm in the 55-minute zone, it tends to be telling me it's about 9.2K. But when I'm slower than that, if I've not run for a while, it tends to tell me anywhere between 9.5 and 10. I know it's not 10 because I've Googled it. And it's about, if you do the full outer circumference 3 times, and I cut a little bit, it's the way the paths work, but I cut a little bit off of this left corner when I go up. So I suspect what I'm doing is about 9.4, 9.5, thereabouts. So yeah, I did about, it was, my best time at that was 54 minutes 20, I think it was, that the Fitbit told me. And today was 55 something, I can't remember now. My best one of the, 50, sorry, no, not 55, 50, oh God, I can't remember, people. Can't remember, I've already forgot. Yeah, it was 57, sorry, it was 57 minutes and something it was today. But my best one of the week was 56 something, I think. So, there we are. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. It was a nice run. Glorious sunshine all the way around. And I got these, they're here. I treated myself, right? Okay, I'll tell you this little story before we get going. If you're not interested in things not to do with gaming, you probably want to fast forward at this point because I'm going off on a ramble. But anyway, I bought a bike. If I didn't mention this last week, I bought a bike. And I've not really been out and about on it yet, but I've been buying lots of bits that I wanted for it, just so that I can go out and go far away from home if I really want to, and you know, not worry about it. So I've bought a little puncture kit that goes under the seat, and I've got a rucksack in case I want to take stuff with me. I got today, and all sorts of stuff. Little proper sunglasses for blocking out the rays if they're too bright. There's just loads of little knickknacks to go with it. I'm going to make it a proper, you know, I'm going to be proper sorted by the time I go out, and loads of little bits arrived today, and so. Yeah, so in the midst of all of that, I was under budget when I bought the bike and the lock. I bought 2 locks with it. I got one of the U-bend ones that you can't get through and a chain one. I do think I might have mentioned this last week. But anyway, that all sorted out. Because I was under budget, I got a pair of headphones. I think they can manage around. No, I've got a big set of headphones. The ones I'll go show you actually because they're all nearby. So the ones I usually run with are these Monster headphones, and the sound quality on these is absolutely amazing. It's really, really good. It muffles out the outside sound as well, and it's just a terrific pair of headphones, and they're water resistant as well. So if it rains, you're kind of okay. I tend not to run if it's lashing it down. Like, I don't mind if it's raining a little bit, but if it's lashing it down, I tend to avoid it. And part of the reason for that is the fact I don't know that they will stand up to a drenching. I know they can handle, getting wet and be okay, but a drenching is probably a bit much to ask of them. But to be fair, there's not many places water can get in, and the only two places that water could get in is probably at the bottom. And if they're that way round, chances are it won't reach those particular points to get in anyway. But there's for terrific sound. But they are obviously, when you're running in the hotter weather, they're obviously really, really what they get sweaty quickly. Your head's feeling that them being it's like having earmuffs on in the summer. And I forever sort of put off getting a pair of in-ear headphones, because the only in-ear headphones that I've ever managed to keep in my ears with a little hook on them, I bought them. I think they were like something that you buy at like the Argos counter when you're about to pay. It was like a really cheap pair. They were like £7 or something. And they were the only ones that I've ever been able to make stay in my ears. And they're wired and they plug straight into a headphone jack. And I've used them for years and years and years until I got those monster ones. And the reason that I keep looking at the ones that go in your ear with a hook on them, sporty ones. But because my ears seem to be weird, because I can never get them to stay in, I didn't want to fork out money for a Bluetooth pair and then find they didn't fit. And you can never try them on anywhere. Like, you can't walk into a shop and just say, can I try them to see if they'll stay in? So I kept looking and looking for years. I've been looking to see if there's a pair, and I keep going, I'm not wasting £20 if they don't fit. So anyway, I guess I could probably have ordered on Amazon, and if they don't work, you just send them back. But in the end, I went into Curry's, and I'd seen these a few times actually. And hang on, I'm going to show you them. And they are Goji, they're called. And there were several different kinds of sporty ones. They've got ones that don't have a hook, but they have like an in-ear thing that tries to hook them in. But basically, it's that. Sorry, ignore the big cable here, because that's them just charging people, and they're already fully charged. So I don't know why that's still in. Let's get that away. So yeah, so we've got that. So they hook around your ears, and they go in. That cable bit goes at the back and just sits like that. So completely wireless. They work off Bluetooth. They've got all they've got on them is at the bottom. They've got the place where you put the USB charger in, which I've just now taken out. Which, to be fair, is not. Always worried I'm going to snap the thing off. But anyway, so that closes it up. You've got 3 buttons in there. Basically, that's power on and power off in the middle, as well as pause and start. If you hold it down, it powers on, powers off. If you just tap it, it will stop the music. And the 2 other buttons either side are either, if you tap them, it's volume, and if you hold them down, it will skip a track. So it's just dead basic, dead easy to use, and the sound on them is actually pretty good. It's a good loud volume you get out of them. Certainly via the iPhone 7, and obviously the bass is nowhere near what the other set is. That's the one thing it misses. But those sort of headphones, I think if you want proper bass in a pair of headphones like that, I think you struggle anyway, but you'd have to start paying, £150 for one of the big brands, But for a pair of, get out there and get a bit of running done, I'm only noticing the bass because I've been running in the other ones for so long. But they've been absolutely bang on those, because I bought them for the bike mainly, but they've been bob on for the running. Absolutely brilliant. And now the weather is starting to turn. Those are the big ones. The last couple of summers I've been running in those. They are hot. I can't run without music. So I'm really looking forward to getting out there with those little ones on. And it's brilliant. It sounds stupid, but you are so much hotter with a massive pair of headphones on. So much cooler. Also, if you're out in the sun all the time running and you've got a big band over your head, surely I'm going to end up with a big white. Well, it wouldn't matter if I had hair, but because I've got no hair, I'd end up with 2 white ears as well, probably. Anyway, there you go. So I got that with my extra budget money, and also I got this idea from someone. I was watching a video of one of the. It's like a bag thing that sits on the main bar in the middle of the bike, and you can put your phone on it, and you can use it as sat nav or play your music and blah blah blah. And inside it, you can put some bits and pieces. And the guy actually put in a charger, because obviously if you're using your phone and you're out and about all day, it's going to die, isn't it? And he had you put a little charger in the bag, and you can put a little cable through the bag. I've ordered this bag; it's not arrived yet. And you can put if you need a headset cable to go into the bag, there's a hole for it. I won't need that because I've got the wireless ones. So anyway, bob on. So anyway, I went looking for one of these little chargers, and on Amazon I found this. What's it called? My eyesight, people. I can't see the name of it. But anyway, it was only $12.99 or something. And it's this little charger here, and I've got it's fortunate actually, or by chance, I'd been out all day pretty much today, and my phone was about to die before I did this, and my notes are on it. I thought, well, I need to reach where the plugs are is quite far away, and then I was like, hang on a minute, I've got my little charger, and so you charge that little brick, and then you can take that out with you. It doesn't mean to be on a bike, but you can take it out with you, and if you know you're going to be away for a day or whatever, you can take that with you in your backpack or whatever. You can even fit it in your trouser pocket. It's tiny. I mean, there's a little bit of weight to it, but and it charges. Apparently, it'll charge the. I mean, that's my phone. My phone's basically charging off of that just now. So all I've got is that, and my phone's charging off of it. And apparently, you can charge an iPhone about 2.5 times off of it. It's a proper little brick of power. So, yeah, really chuffed with that. So, it won't just do for the bike. It'll probably do for any journey that I'm doing. Just, you don't know where you're going to end up half the time, do you? I remember being on a train when I was going up to look at flats in Edinburgh at one point. And the train was delayed, and we all ended up at a station. And the minute we got to the station, any plug that was available was gone within 2 seconds. And everyone else just had a dead phone. If I'd had that with me, I could have charged the phone bloody 2 times. So... yeah, no, fantastic little purchase that. Anyway, I've got loads of things for the bike. I'm really looking forward to getting out and about on it once the weather turns a bit nicer. And, I've got... what I didn't have was sort of proper clothing for it as well. So I've bought some long sleeve t-shirts and a nice... like a waterproof that's dead thin that can just pack up somewhere if I need it. And at the moment, a coat that I can wear that's not too thick, but just windproof for getting out and about at the minute. So, yeah. So, loads of little bits and bobs. Really looking forward to getting out on the bike. I can't remember why I've gone into the bike story now. But anyway, there you are. You've got the whole story now. We've been going for the best part of 10 minutes, and I've, actually 12 minutes. Anyway, I'm going to have a sip of this, and then we're going to talk about games, people. We're going to talk about gaming and games. Ooh, flagons up to you all. All right, let's kick off with E3 is cancelled, people. E3 2020 is not happening. Certainly not as a physical, everybody turns up conference. There will, however, maybe be an E3 online event. They're still thinking it through. They're still trying to come up with something that they can get a lot of people involved with, because it's a platform that people can recognise immediately, rather than splintering off into, especially smaller devs, indie devs, and even some of the bigger games that may be on the fringes of being massive, are going to struggle to get attention if you don't shove it into some form of come here to the E3 YouTube channel today because you will be able to see blah 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 blah. Where you're not going to splinter off and go and look at loads of different people's games from loads of different YouTube channels, So they are still thinking about doing an E3 online event of some description. Microsoft and Ubisoft have both said that they're going to do their own online events anyway. So whatever they were going to do at E3, they're definitely going to be doing online. PlayStation are saying absolutely nothing at all because they don't have anything to say about anything ever. Because they've sold 2.5 bazillion PlayStation 4s. They don't care about us anymore, so they're just doing what they bloody well like. And they're not telling us squat, people, and that's just the way they're going to have it. Actually, to be fair, I think the reason they're not saying anything is because in a normal console launch, they probably wouldn't need to anyway. But, the last time, 2013, they started talking about stuff in February. They got a Sony event in February to announce PS4. We never saw the PS4, we only saw the controller. And then month by month, we got drip-fed stuff, and then there was the big E3 conference. It's been different this year because everyone expected something in February. It didn't happen. It's now been and gone. And I think that, I think other people have had a similar impression to me. Sony don't need to do anything. They basically know that as long as they meet a good criteria and come up with a good box, people don't really give a shit whether it was announced February or whether it was announced 2 months before it's available. They really don't care. If they come out with a PlayStation 5 that's fully backward compatible, that has a good launch lineup, that is, has loads of new features that people are going to be keen on. It's got at least 9.5 teraflops, may even match the 12 teraflops of Microsoft's Xbox Series X. People aren't going to give a shit because as long as it has all of that, then even just back compatible to PS4, if that's all it had, that would be enough for people not to jump ship and go to Xbox. So, I don't think Sony needs to be spraffing about anything. And you've got to remember that they've still got massive titles to come out yet. They've still got, Ghost of Tsushima is the last one to come out. The Last of Us Part 2 is out in a couple of months. Yeah, it's May, isn't it, I think? Yeah, something like that. Yeah, May and June. I mentioned this last week. So, The Last of Us Part 2 is out in May, and Ghost of Tsushima is out in June. And then, once they've driven that hype for those, and they are massive titles, people, make no mistake, they are genuine, top tier AAA titles, those two games. And, you don't want to take any shine off of it by talking about next gen when that gen is still happening, for my liking. So I can totally understand that they're not talking PS5 yet. I think they'll get June out of the way. They'll give The Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima a nice big welcome on the PS4. They won't even talk about PS5 versions of them. They'll just get them out on the PS4. And then immediately after that launch date of Ghost of Tsushima, I think beginning of July, we will see them kick in with PS5, and we'll start hearing all about it, people. So I'm not concerned about that at all. But they still haven't said anything. They weren't going to E3 anyway, but they may well do some sort of Sony presentation just to lift awareness or something. Even if it's just to sell more on Ghost of Tsushima, more on The Last of Us Part 2, more on the other things that they might be launching before the end of the PS4. I think, but they're fine. They don't need to be worrying about anything, and I think it's probably more important that Microsoft to keep pushing themselves at the minute so that they're on more of an even keel with them on this particular gen of consoles than the last time, which isn't going to be hard because it was a bad start, wasn't it? So it's going to be interesting to see what happens if E3 do an online event and a lot of people get involved with it. Even if Microsoft do their own thing, even if Ubisoft do their own thing, they still can get involved with what E3 do online. So I'm going to be really interested to see what E3 do, because I think to do nothing is just going, well, that's that down the toilet, because they were already worried. There was already people that had walked off and weren't doing it anymore. Sony weren't turning up this year again for the second year running. So it was already people were already starting to say, is it the end of the big conventions? Are we not going to get them anymore? I don't think it's the end of the big conventions. I think Phil Spencer loves these big conventions. And I think you've got to remember that E3 was created for the tech companies to come to. So the game developers and the console developers, the hardware, whatever, anything to do with that realm. It was actually designed for them to come together to share all that sort of stuff with the world. And it slowly then became something to do where, I think it's not that many years where fans have been allowed to turn up. So it was always about them coming together as a community and sort of sharing, and showing off. And I don't see why that would ever change. All the major tech things still happen in the world that are nothing to do with gaming. Like there's always the massive. I'm forgetting the names now, but there's always the massive. Like there was one in Germany I went to. My mum took me to it when she worked for Nixdorf Siemens when I was about a boy, and well, it was just Nixdorf. It was just Nixdorf at that point. In fact, we turned up at the convention in Germany. This was, and it was the day that Mr. Nixdorf, who made the company, had died the night before. He was at some event at the thing, a ball or something, dancing on the dance floor. He collapsed, had a massive heart attack, and was gone. And slowly after that, it then became Nixdorf. It wasn't Siemens straight away. I think it was like Nixdorf Toshiba and then Nixdorf Toshiba Siemens, and then it's Nixdorf Siemens and stuff now. But anyway, but that was oh God, I wish I could remember the name of it. But that was a massive convention of it was literally warehouse and warehouse on warehouse of all the different electrical devices you could think of or computing devices you could think of. And that is basically and it wasn't for fans, it was for businesses and that community. So, I don't see why the gaming industry should suddenly say we don't need to do those anymore. They're just a bit of a pain, because why would you? It's a coming together of your communities so that you can learn and see what each other have been doing and grow yourselves from that experience. It's not about I mean, I think this is where Sony are getting it wrong. It's not about saying, well, it's costing us £500,000 or whatever it is to host that. It's probably not that much, but to be there, to do all of these things, to get all of our staff there, to get all of the stuff there we need, to put the conference on, hire the conference hall. It's just not worth the hassle. But I don't accept that. I think they're cutting themselves off without any reason other than they can't be bothered, because they think it's a waste of time. It's not a waste of time to be somewhere where the rest of your industry is. How can it be a waste of time? If the rest of your industry is there, they're all learning and growing from each other and you're not. So I don't understand the philosophy behind it. The first time they cancelled it, they said that they weren't going to go, which was last year. Their excuse was that they didn't have anything new to show off, so there was no point. That in itself was a dumb excuse anyway, because there's always reason to be around the other people in your industry. So, and they still had the massive titles like The Last of Us Part 2. Even then, they'd already announced that, and Ghost of Tsushima and all lots of other stuff. Days Gone, I think, was still kicking around at that point new. And they could have had plenty to talk about, absolutely loads to talk about, but they didn't go anyway. But they used that as an excuse. This year, I mean, they've even less of an excuse, because you could be there pushing The Last of Us Part 2 and the Ghost of Tsushima, heavy hammering them. I know it's not on now, but this is before they knew it was going to be cancelled. Why? If Microsoft had two exclusives like that, they would be absolutely hammering those. But it's like they've gone, we've sold 100 gazillion PlayStation 4s, we don't need to sell stuff now. People will just buy it. And they won't, though. A lot of people will, but there's a lot of people that won't spend £50, which is what you're asking for now, on a game that they're unsure about, or, haven't seen enough of, or, you still should be pushing it. That's where your money is. I mean, the majority of profit they make isn't from the console, it's from the games. So I'm a little bit miffed at Sony, because they've got back into this comfort zone now. They did it this is where they went wrong with the PS3, and they fecked it all up because they believed that they were Sony, so people would just buy whatever they made at whatever price they made it, and clearly got their asses handed to them with the 360 in competition. And if they go down that road again, people will just start jumping ship to another console, Microsoft, because that's the other console. But then, the Switch is a big player as well. It's a different kind of console, I get it, but, yeah, I don't know what Sony's story is. Like, somebody somewhere is deciding that there's no point in doing the any sort of major convention like that. I mean, it wouldn't have surprised me if they weren't going to Gamescom. I'm not sure if that's true or false. But it's like they don't want to do anything. Gamescom might have been different if that's happening, because they may well... When's Gamescom? Is that July? I can't remember now. No, Gamescom's later in the year, isn't it? Oh, I can't remember. But if Did they do Gamescom last year? I don't think they did. I don't think they did either of them. Anyway, they seem to not want to do those events, and they're like, if we're going to do an event, we'll just have a Sony event, and that's that. Because they had the Sony Experience events, didn't they? PlayStation Experience. So they are doing something, but it's in isolation of everybody else. Like you're not getting the opportunity as a business to be in an environment with all of your counterparts and people from other businesses, and so they're kind of missing the point of what that convention was originally about. I get that the fans are the most important thing, but you still want to be in and around the people in your own environment and community. Anyway, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with E3 after this year, because it was already in a sort of like it all seems to be dwindling away, and I think that was really kick-started by Sony not turning up for last year and then deciding not to turn up this year before it all went haywire. People are like, is there going to be another E3 ever? But Gamescom, no one's talking about Gamescom not happening ever because of it. So, E3 just seems to be getting heavy hit for some reason. But I don't think that E3 will disappear. And I hope it doesn't, because we all look forward to it. We all look forward for some big announcements and to see what everyone's going to show us in one big event. I know it's over a number of days, but we know it's like, we've got a number of days here where there's going to be loads of stuff happening on YouTube and it's such a massive, massive place to show your stuff off. Everybody knows it's happening. Everybody wants to see what's going on. Everyone sits up and looks out for the Sony conference, the Microsoft conference. Like the minute you start making it like little mini, I don't watch the Nintendo one. I only watch the Nintendo one when it's on E3. I don't watch these mini Nintendo ones they keep putting out. I don't find anything exciting about them. And most of the time it's like, we need more time to make this game, but it will be coming soon anyway. So I hope it's not the end. I hope E3 makes a big comeback next year, assuming we've got rid of the coronavirus people. I think that's probably all I've got to say about that. I mean, we've got I don't see why E3 is being picked out of the bunch to be like, oh, it's disastrous, it's all ending, when no one's saying the same thing about Gamescom. So, I think it's still very much a very important event, and I think it's a little bit nasty to the other people that all attend E3, because all of the developers are still going, and just because one third of the console lot aren't turning up, everybody else was still well into it. I know the guy that used to head it or lead it or whatever decided not to do it this year, but that's by the by. It's still a massive, massive event for a lot of developers and the other two console makers. So anyway, we'll see what happens, I suppose, in the coming months. But I think it would be a mistake from E3 not to do some form of online, even if it was an E3 YouTube channel or something where people could go and say, right, this is going to be happening at whatever time, and just be able to go there and wait for the next thing that's coming on. It's a tricky one. Usually because it's on stage and it's live or whatever, you've got IGN showing stuff. You've the same, they're live recording it, talking over it. GameSpot doing the same thing, and so on. Obviously, you can't kind of do that if E3 are doing their own thing. Well, you could, to be fair. You could just have them all, because they can show other YouTube channels what they're playing on their screen, showing it to you with them chatting over it and stuff. So they could do the same thing. There's no reason why not. It just wouldn't be them having to... They wouldn't then have to get a copy of the clip that was shown and show it to you and, or be reliant on... Well, I suppose you still would bring a... It's the same, isn't it? It's the same thing. They could just live it. They could just live copy what's happening onto their screen and chat over it. It'd be exactly the same thing. You just wouldn't have people on stage is basically the big difference. So if I was E3, I'd be asking the big companies, do they still want to do something and get a lineup together for each day of the week? And I think that would work fine. I think people would still be well into it and well up for it. If anything, it'd probably be a bit shorter, and you could have somebody chatting between stuff like Nintendo do, but you don't have to. You could just do a massive run of things you want to show off. Ooh, I'm getting thirsty, people. Right. Let's move on from here. Let me know in the comments below what you think about E3 being cancelled, if you think E3 is a waste of time now. Me personally, I think it's still a great thing, and I'd love Sony to come back to it, but I don't think it's a dead duck without them. I think it's absolutely fine. I think there's still plenty that we can see from those from E3 certainly. Right, what was the next thing we want to talk about? Yes. Now here's the thing. There's a new Witcher game going to be made immediately after Cyberpunk has launched. CD Projekt Red are going to make a new Witcher game. And it is not going to be about Geralt. It is going to be set in the same world. We don't know at what time slot or anything yet, but it is going to be in that world, and it's going to be a Witcher game. And so you can't call it The Witcher and just be in the world. It would have to be about a Witcher, I assume. So I don't know. I still got a feeling. I mean, they've not said anything, but I still feel like Ciri's story could easily be told. Where it was left with. I mean, you could easily follow on Geralt's story with Ciri's story, and if you do that, you could still have Geralt feed in and out a little bit, as a mentor-y type character that she goes to visit from time to time. Or it could be that they're actually going to set it in a completely different time frame altogether, much like the Harry Potter game, which we know is coming now, which is like an open world RPG type. You go to Hogwarts and you become a student, and but it's set like, I don't know, 200 years before Harry Potter is actually set. So, it's kind of distanced itself away from those characters, and you are at Hogwarts, you're a young up-and-coming wizard, whatever. And so they could do something like that, where it's actually set, 200 years before or 100 years after, and just completely separate itself from. Or, I mean, I suppose a prequel is kind of interesting, because it could lead up to where Geralt comes in. And then you've got, because there's no doubt they wouldn't make one. I mean, I'm sure they would make another trilogy of some description. But I think the most obvious choice would absolutely be Ciri's story, because she had different powers to Geralt anyway. Because we got to play as her as a little bit in Witcher 3. So I'm really excited about that. I wasn't expecting them to do anything with that soon. I was expecting them to say, we're going to do something else first. But nope, they're going straight into a Witcher game. They're going to have, from all accounts, they're going to have a smaller team start that Witcher game, and they're going to have a bigger team supporting Cyberpunk and doing the online stuff for Cyberpunk, and that's going to keep them busy for a while after it goes live. And then that'll all transfer over, I think, to the team that once Cyberpunk's done and dusted, they'll all transfer or be drip fed into the other team, and that'll grow. So that's fantastic news. Yeah, I really look forward to that, because let's be fair, The Witcher 2 was a good game, but it was still suffered from last gen, loading screens, and the areas were quite small. But it's a good game for its time. It was great, but The Witcher 3, fantastic game, and to have a proper trilogy with that kind of power behind it and those kind of environments behind it, I mean, what's not to want? You know what I mean? Be absolutely fantastic. So that was news this week. Really looking forward to that. Are you a Witcher fan? Let me know in the comments below. Are you excited about that news? It is definitely not Witcher 4, though. They said that. It's definitely not Witcher 4. So, Neo 2 is out, people. Yes, it is. It is out. And much as I was tempted to buy it, I have Neo sat here. And I've had it sat here for about a year and a half, and I still haven't played it. I did the demo on the channel for the first, I think it was 2 parts of it I did when the demo came out, before Neo came out. And finally got around to getting the game, and then I've never played it. So I cannot justify buying Neo 2 when I've not even bothered with Neo 1 yet. So I don't know. I need to get around to playing Neo. But Neo 2, by all accounts, is supposed to be tough as hell, people. I mean, even Bloodborne players were saying how bloody tough it was. They're just like, it's supposed to. I think from what people are saying, it is tougher than the Souls games, the boss fights, that is. And because of the way the mechanics work and all that sort of stuff, I mean, is it? I'm trying to remember if it's more stamina bar and all that with Neo. I can't remember now from what I played. It may be more like Sekiro than it is the Souls games. And Sekiro was bloody hell. That was, yeah. Well, we know about that, people. Aaron Brew, by the way, my son he's got the platinum for Bloodborne. He finally got the platinum for Bloodborne a couple of nights ago. Sent me the picture and everything, people. So he was proper made up with that. It's a cracking platinum to have that. So yeah, he's really chuffed with that. I think he's tempted to do Dark Souls 3 platinum next. I think Dark Souls 1 has got some silly trophies that are really annoying, whereas Dark Souls 3 is a bit more like challenging, but not got stupid stuff to do. You know, like do a certain amount of emoji waves or whatever they're called. I can't remember what they're called now. Emotes, is it? Yeah. So I'm actually seeing Neo 2 come out, and I saw the trailer, and I was like, oh, fancy that. But I need to play Neo 1, and I need to have enjoyed it enough going through the pain to actually get Neo 2, I think. So, you know, maybe we'll do that on the channel at some point. But it's sat here, and I can play it anytime I want. So, if you are a Neo fan and you weren't aware, I'm sure you are. Neo 2 is out today, people, today. Alright, so we did the last two things now, people. I'm actually looking at my phone, and I was curious as to how quickly this little block would charge it. And it's pretty much done it. While we've been chatting, it's nearly done. 2/3 of the battery. It's nearly at full. So, pretty impressive, people. It's a right little brick, isn't it? So, this week, people, we have been playing Days Gone, and you got 2 episodes of The Sinking City, people, by Frogwares Games. And they're the same folks that have done the Sherlock Holmes games and all that. But this is a game that I mentioned on the channel about a year ago, I think, on one of my vlogs, because I'd seen a trailer of it, or a clip of the gameplay, and they were talking over it and stuff. I was like, bloody hell, that looks like an awesome vibe, that does. So anyway, there's part 1 and 2 up there now. I put them up yesterday and the day before, Wednesday, Thursday. No, Tuesday, yes, Wednesday, Thursday, that's right, Wednesday, Thursday. So there's two parts there if you want to go and see what that's all about. It's got a great vibe to it. You know, it's very haunting, and it's a bit like Evil Within meets Sherlock Holmes meets a couple of other things. Something like that. Very dark world, but very interesting world. And if anything, the only thing that there's only a couple of things I had gripes with really were probably the frame rate was really sticky. It felt like I was playing on an old gen console half the time because it was just so sticky moving the camera around sometimes. So the frame rates were struggling, and the what was the other thing? Oh yeah, it's like a lot of the world. It's like you've got massive areas with really interesting things to look at. So you're wandering through, say, all these old cars or all these, but there's nothing there to discover or find or make it more interesting to do that. You're literally just wandering around a big lump of area and going, well, what was the point? Like, I should have just kept on the path and gone to my next building. But I think a lot of those things are down to the fact that this is a smaller dev, clearly. I think they've done a terrific job with it. It's a fantastic looking game, and I was laughing at a lot of not the acting's good, but the way they've acted it out is quite funny at times. And the characters in it are weird, like some of the human characters, one of them is quite monkey-like in its look, the way that it's got its jawline and stuff. It's got Mr. T hair. Well, from a distance I thought it was Mr. T hair because I thought he had a Mohican, so in the video I went, Mr. T, and then I walked over, I was like, no, that's not Mr. T, it's like, I don't know. And it wasn't a Mohican, it's just that it had receded here. So, but yeah, it's got like, I don't know, like they're called something. I can't remember what they're called now. Anyway, it was interesting. Like, and then there was another type of character that was more lizardy in its look, and that there was a sort of spat going between those two families. They were more immigrants, and they were more the sort of the sort of more sort of apey sort of monkey looking facial ones were from that area, whereas the sort of lizard folk had come in because of the big flood and everything. So the immigrant thing seems to be flooding into many stories now. Even historic ones, but it's always been the way, people. There's always been immigration happening all the time. People fleeing disasters, fleeing wars, fleeing, you know. But anyway, the actual game I was really enjoying because it's very investigatory. It's very it gets your imagination going. It gets your thought process going. Looking around rooms, and it reminded me of I keep forgetting the bloody name of it. I've still got it as well in a box somewhere. It came out when the PS4 first came out. It was called Murder. But it basically you were investigating your own murder. You're a private eye or a cop investigating your own murder, and it's got many of the features of that game in this game when it comes to investigating rooms and trying to figure out what happened at what point. Yeah, it was very cool. Was it Murder 2? Oh, it wasn't Murder 2 Souls. What was it called? That can't remember now. It was actually quite a good game. For a wander about investigating game, you know, there was loads of spooky bits in it and ghosts you had to fight or get away from and stuff. It was good. It got average reviews at the times, I think, but I really enjoyed it. I've played it a couple of times, I think. Anywho, people, yes. So we got a couple of episodes of Sinking City down, and I've also been playing Days Gone. I'm nearly at the end of that game. I've talked about Days Gone in the other vlogs I've been doing because that's all I've been playing off camera, and I'm determined to get to the end of the game. I mean, I've loved that game. It's feeling a little bit stretched, but I don't know if that's because I want to desperately finish it or whether it is because it is stretched. Because I feel like it's just taken me to another area where I've got to do all of the same things again for different people, and that's fine if you want an excuse to do stuff in the world. I mean, that game cannot be criticised for not having enough to do. The minute you start riding your bike, you'll get radio calls, you'll get people asking you to go and speak to them, and you'll get jobs. Until the area is about to tail off like the last one, and then it quietens down. But when I went into the next area, I was like, well, there's not much to do. But as you continue the story on and you go travel into the jobs, things start pinging up all over the place. Infestations, hordes, marauder camps, ripper camps, all sorts of stuff starts pitching up. But I'm at a point now where it's like I'm just pushing the story as heavily as I can. I'm doing a couple of the side bits. If I go to a story mission or on my way to a story mission on the bike and I see a side thing on the way, I have to do it. My OCD won't let me not do it. Or an infestation or whatever. And I've managed to get level 2 trust at the camp. There's 2 camps at the minute in the new area, and the camp that's got all the bike bits that I wanted, most of which were level 2. There's a few at level 3, but trust level 2's got me enough of the bike, like the tank, the fuel tank that fills full. I've got that. And a few other bits. So I'm kind of like, I don't really care whether I hit trust level 3 in that camp now. So we'll see how much of the story gets me that trust, but I don't think it will for that particular camp. I think it will probably get me it for the second camp, which seems to drive the story. So anyway, I played a lot of that this week, and I think I'm nearly at the end of the campaign now. So I'm really looking forward to finishing that off. I've really, really enjoyed that game. It's been fantastic. It's been really, really good. Is it perfect? No. There's been a few nights where I've thought it was a little bit of a grind, but I think it's more the mood I was in, because I'll come back the following night, I'll be like, right, let's do some more, you know. I mean, it's good as well. I finally defeated a horde. I literally played most of this game without taking on a horde, but I knew there was a trophy for defeating your first horde, so I found a horde that I thought I could manage after I'd leveled up a fair bit and got, you know, a fair bit of sort of Molotovs and all that sort of stuff. And I managed to find a cool way of getting rid of them all and take them out. So I'd got the trophy at that point, but I could have, up until this point, not done a horde at all. And a horde, if you don't know what that is, it's a lot of the freakers at once. It's a lot of the they're zombie type characters, but they're called freakers because they're not dead; they're actually infected, and they come charging at you, and you're literally talking about, I don't know, like it must be 100 of the things all coming at you. So you can't survive them. You've literally got what you've got to do is you've got to take some of them out, get them to chase you, and then you've got to use the environment to slow them down so that you can then turn around and hammer them again, and then take them to another spot, like a bottleneck, for example. You can find a spot between lorries and stuff where you can get through quick, but they suddenly start coming through slower. But it freaks you out when it starts happening. But anyway, the long and the short of it was, I got to this point of the story. It's a main story quest. You can't skip it. You have to take on a horde. So I was kind of glad at that point. I had tried a few hordes, failed, and then finally did one before I got to this point, because I kind of thought, well, I know what to expect. I was still freaked out through the entire thing, and there was a few points in it I thought, I'm never going to do this. Like, they're going to get me. You know, they were right behind me, like literally clawing my back as I was sprinting away. It was like fucking hundreds of them. And you got this big bar at the top, and every time you take some of them out, the bar gets lower and lower and lower. Anyway, I did it first time. I was really chuffed with it. I wished I'd recorded it now. After all the recordings I'd put up, I don't know why I didn't double hit the PS4 share and just get it down. But anywho, so it did finally force you in the game to do a horde. And I think if anybody struggles, it's probably with that particular quest. It weren't easy. There's a lot of running involved the way I did it, because I used the environment a little bit. There's also, like, in a fence, like a wired fence, but some of them have got a little hole at the bottom you can slide through, so you sprint and just hit the crouch button and it slides you through it. At that point they get jammed because they can't all get through that quickly, so you can start pummeling them. So, you know, there was little things like that I did use, but inevitably I ended up with them on my tail, and I was just sprinting and turning around, throwing a Molotov, sprinting and throwing Molotov. It wasn't pretty, people, but I did it. So if I hadn't got the trophy for defeating my first horde when I did it, I certainly would have got it at that point. So I thoroughly enjoyed that game, and I'm really looking forward. Do you know what? The story is actually... I thought the story was, you know... I don't want to give anything away for people that haven't played it, but I thought the storyline was going to be so straightforward, like, are they alive, are they dead, I've got to find them, and that stretches on for a fair while, and then you think, well, but it's got to a point now where it's like, well, this isn't actually turning out the way I thought it was going to turn out. It's actually got a bit more interesting than that, and I think they should be really proud of the story they wrote and where it went in the end. I haven't seen it through to its climax, obviously. I don't know what happens right at the end, but I think the story's great. The pacing of it has got loads of question marks on it. The way that they throw in cutscenes and jump between gameplay and things, the way you have but when you sometimes end up in a bit of in a quest, say, where you've got to follow somebody else, and they've deliberately made your character only be able to walk literally in slow motion, so that that you can get through all of the text all of the conversation they wanted to give you before you get to the point of doing something. So, and that's frustrating. There's a few levels where you're walking, it's like, oh my god, like, like, it doesn't matter what, just let me get to the door as quickly as I like, but just don't trigger it until, anyway. But small pacing issues, well, medium pacing issues, yes. Something you can make better in the next game if you make another game, absolutely. Was the first Uncharted game perfect? No, of course it wasn't. Did they make the second one absolutely amazing? Of course they did. And they kept getting better and better. So I have no doubt if they're allowed to make another Days Gone game, that they will smooth over all that stuff. And they'll probably do so with advice and help of looking at people like Naughty Dog and all the people around them, which we talked about last week. So I've absolutely adored playing that game. I am looking forward to seeing it through to its end. I think I may well have a break from it and play something else, and I've still got Judgment to get stuck into, and I now have I showed you last vlog, my copy of Sleeping Dogs for the Xbox One X to play again if I want to do that. I've got and loads of stuff that I haven't played yet, like Neo. So really looking forward to finishing that off. And there you are. That has been my week, people. Oh, blimey, I've gone a bit dry. It's not like me, is it? Well, that's it, people. Let me know in the comments below if you agree, disagree, like or dislike the things that I've been on about today. I'm sure we'll be back with another vlog next week. I'm not sure about any recording in the coming week. I know I started up Dragon Age again. I still have every intention of going back to that, Inquisition and Chaos Bane. It's just that because I've been so soaked up in Days Gone, I thought, well, I might as well put up some PS4 shares while I'm on with it so that the channel keeps ticking over and you guys can see what I'm doing. And then I randomly saw the Sinking City at a really cheap price. So I thought I'm going to get that and do a couple of parts on it, which I have done. Whether I do any more of the Sinking City, you guys can let me know if you want to see some more. I didn't expect the viewing figures to be high on that. A, because it's been out a while, and B, because I don't think it's the sort of thing people watch on my channel, because we know we're an RPG channel, primarily people. So it'll probably be maybe the only 2 parts we put up. If you wanted to see more, we could always do more. And there you are, people. That is all I have for you today. I hope your weekends are awesome. It has been an honour and a privilege serving for you in this vlog of mine, and I shall see you all next time. Take it easy, folks. Bye.